ورضعت عظمته العقول والذي لا تواري عنه سماء سماء ولا أرض أرضا، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد البطحاء سيد المرسلين والأنبياء أبي القاسم محمد المصطفى.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى الجوهرة القدسية البتول العذراء سيدة النساء فاطمة الزهراء، وعلى بعلها أمير المؤمنين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
لا سيما على بقية الله وحجته الكبرى الذي بيمنه رزق الورى وبوجوده ثبتت الأرض والسماء، ولولاه لصاخت الأرض بأهلها، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من حين عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: فمنكم من يبخل ومن يبخل فإنما يبخل عن نفسه والله الغني وأنتم الفقراء. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So whoever has bukhl, shows bukhl and miserliness, he's showing it against his own self, his own soul. Allah is ghani and rich and self-sufficient, and you people are needy towards him. وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. And if you turn your backs, Allah will replace you with another people, and they will not be like you. So, we are talking about various values of Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and the Thursday nights. The total values are approximately, the scholars of Akhlaq count approximately 162, I think. So I don't know which number of this it is, but I will try to be going in sequence one by one, inshallah. So, bukhl, which is defined in our Islamic morality as al-imsak haythu yanbaghi al-bazl. Bukhl means a person holds on to his, not only the wealth, but his fara'id and duties, where he was supposed to perform those fara'id and duties and supposed to give away and deliver. And the reason of bukhl, the root cause of bukhl, is not lack of money. The root cause of bukhl is actually hubbud dunya, love affair with this world. That's those people who give away, they perform their fara'id and duties. Bukhl is not only related to the monetary affairs in Islam. Bukhl is a very widespread, all-inclusive concept that includes all the fara'id of Islam, including the monetary duties. So those who give away, it's not because they have a lot, they give away because they are not connected with this, they are not attached with this dunya. Those who are not ready to give away and have bukhl, is not because they have less money, it's because they are attached with this dunya. So the reason of sakha and generosity is not having attachment with this dunya, and the reason of bukhl is having the attachment with this dunya. So in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam,
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad
he says that السخي قريب من الله قريب من الناس قريب من الجنة بعيد عن النار. Well, that's the مضمون الرواية. والبخيل بعيد من الله بعيد من الناس بعيد من الجنة قريب من النار. So this hadith says that the bakhil person is far away from Allah, is far away from the people, far away from the paradise and close to the hellfire. So bukhl takes us close to the fire and far away from all those. And sakhawat, generosity is close to Allah, close to the people, close to the paradise and far away from the hellfire. And the scholars of akhlaq say that this attribute of bukhl is sufficient enough to take a person to the paradise. If you have iman and sakha and generosity in your qalb till the last breath of your life, you will go to the paradise. Because Allah loves the sakha and generosity so much, He never leaves the askhiya, the generous people alone. Allah will always help and always support and always reward. So one attribute of sakha along with an iman, if a person is a mu'min and he has sakha, this one attribute of generosity is sufficient for our success. So much that in the hadith of the Prophet, we are talking in the beginning, I mentioned a few hadiths about the significance of, about the status of bukhl in the eyes of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, before I move forward to a few stories about that. So, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم جاهل سخي أحب إلى الله من عابد بخيل. That means a jahil person who is sakhi and generous is more beloved in the eyes of Allah than an abid person who is busy in doing worships and ibadat of Allah, but he is bakhil and a miser. So if a person who is busy in the worships of Allah, but he is miser, as compared to him, a jahil person is better who has generosity. Also in another hadith it says, خِيَارُكُمْ سُمَحَاءُكُمْ وَشِرَارُكُمْ بُخَلَاءُكُمْ. The best one amongst you are the one who are generous, and the worst one amongst you are the one who are bakhil and misers. Also another hadith says, Allah says, حَرَّمْتُ الْجَنَّةَ عَلَى الْمَنَّانِ. I made the paradise haram on mannan. Mannan is the person who performs a good deed towards you, and after that he comes to you and somehow he mentions his good deed towards you. Obviously you will get embarrassed. So he talks about his good deeds, he mentions his favor upon you. This is called al-man, minnat guzari. This is condemned in Islam. It's a very bad attribute. You do it for the sake of Allah. You don't mention to the person at all. So there's a story, a person saved the life of a person who was drowning in the river. That's a real story actually. And he saved the life of a person who was drowning in the river, and which is very good of him. So after that he met the same person in the marketplace and he mentioned to him, remember, I am the one who saved your life. And this guy was thankful to him, and obviously he thanked him. And it happened is that the next time he also met once again on another occasion in the marketplace and met with the same person, and he mentioned for the second time, and this guy said to him, I wish I was not saved by you. You better have not saved me, because every time I meet you keep on mentioning your favor on me. So this is man. The person is called al-mannan, minnat guzari, mentioning your favor on others, which is condemned. So the hadith says, hadithun qudsi, haramtul jannata al-mannan, I have made the paradise haram on the person who mentions his favors. Mannan. Wal bakhil, person who's a miser. I already mentioned to you in the beginning that bukhl is a wide concept. It doesn't necessarily mean the monetary affairs only. It includes all the fara'id and duties of Islam. And we are coming to those, some of those. I will indicate some of those, inshallah, very soon. So a person who is bakhil, is not possible. It's haram. Allah says, I made the paradise haram on bakhil. It's impossible for the bakhil person to enter the paradise. Al-Jannatu Darul Asqiya. Hadith says Jannat is a place of generous people. So everyone who's inside the paradise has to be generous. Has to be generous. So haramtul jannata ala al-mannan wal bakhil. The third thing, wal qattat. Qattat means namam. Namima, and namima in Arabic, jughal khori. You hear something from one person, you tell it to the other, and you make a fight between those two people. Because you tell that thing to the other person, these two people end up in a fight. This is called namima. One of the biggest harams in Islam is that. This is the sting of the Scorpio in the graves that we have heard so much, where there will be Scorpios in the graves. This is exactly the Scorpio. Is our namima will come in the form of Scorpios. So in the hadith of Imam Ali salam says, al-bukhlu, we are talking about bukhl tonight. Al-bukhlu jami'un li masabil uyub. So bukhl and miserliness is a combination of all the bad defects. وَهُوَ زِمَامٌ يُقَادُ بِهِ لَكُلِّ سُوءٍ, and that's the rein that takes you towards every bad and evil. Also in the hadith we learn that Imam Ali salam says, al-bukhlu bil-mawjud su'u dhannin bil-ma'bud. That means if you have bukhl about what you have, what is available, you are having su'u dhann, bad thoughts about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people have very nice food, something very nice, they go in a lonely place, away from the rest of the people, they eat the thing away from the rest of the people, then they come out in the gathering. So this is su'u dhann about Allah. You think Allah, who can give you once, He can give you again as well, right? If you are not ready to give away anything which is more than your needs of life to others, not ready to share with others, this is su'u dhann about Allah. And also it's mentioned that أبخل الناس من بخل على نفسه بماله وخلفه لوارثه. The most bakhil among all the people is the one who did bukhl against his own self about the monetary matters, and he left it behind, left the money, left the wealth behind for his inheritors. But this is one of the worst kinds of bukhl, that you leave the money for your inheritors and you are not ready to spend it for your own benefit, because if you spend in your own benefit, this is how you are helping your own soul. So bukhl is not only about money, it's about all the fara'id and duties of Islam, and the least of that is as-salam, saying salam to someone. If someone is not ready to say salam to others, he's also bakhil. Al-bakhilu man bakhila bis-salam. So also the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that al-bakhilu haqqan man zukirtu indahu falam yusalli alayya. Rightfully, a bakhil is the person who I am mentioned in front of him, I am mentioned before him, but he doesn't send salawat on me. So if the name of the Prophet is mentioned and we are not ready to send salawat on the Prophet, this is also one of the types of bukhl Please say salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
And it
Muhammad.
includes all the duties of Islam, like the hadith says, Abdul Nas man bakhila bima iftarad Allah. Most bakhil person among all is the one who is not ready, who is miserly towards the duties, faridah of Allah. He's not ready to fulfill his faridah and duty. Now, 7 of the results of the scholars of akhlaq have mentioned 7 results of bukhl in our everyday life. We are talking about the results in the life of this world. There are obviously results on the hereafter, but we are talking about the results that we are going to get right here in the life of this world from bukhl and stinginess and miserliness. The first thing, qillatul asdiqa wa kathratul a'da. Abundance of enemies and lack of friends. If a person is bakhil, he is bound to have very few friends and a lot of enemies. Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, bil bukhli taksurul masabbah. So, laysa lil bakhili habib. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, laysa li bakhilin habib. A bakhil person has no friend, no one, who is habib for him. Basically, no one loves him. So, the second impact of bukhl in our everyday life is humiliation. Al-bukhl zullun. Bukhl causes insult and humiliation for a mu'min. Imam Ali salam says, man bakhila bimalihi zalla. So, if I'm not ready to fulfill, I get insulted. This is the insult. This is the zillat. Izzat and zillat is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's entirely dependent on our iman. We are mu'azzaz. We have the izzat because we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believe in kulli ma ja'a bihin nabi, everything that Prophet has brought for us. So if we believe in that, we have the izzat. If we don't have the izzat. It's irrelevant how the people in this dunya perceive it. People's perception about izzat and zillat, Islamically speaking, really does not matter. What matters is the izzat and zillat in the eyes of Allah. So, bukhl brings about insult. The third result in the life of this world is ta'jeel al-faqr. That means bringing about the poverty sooner. The reason why a bakhil person is not ready to spend, because he thinks if he spends he will lose and there will be a deficit, there will be a decrease. This is his mindset. Now look at the hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam where he says, Ajibtu lish-shaqiyyi al-bakhil. I am surprised about the shaqi and a bakhil person. Shaqi is someone who has hardened souls. Some people have their souls hardened and they reach to the final limit of hardening of the soul. Those who reach the final limit are called shaqi. So I am surprised about the shaqi and bakhil person. يَتَعَجَّلُ الْفَقْرَ الَّذِي مِنْهُ هَرَبْ. He is hastening the poverty from which he is running. He is running from the poverty. The reason why he is doing the bukhl, because he wants to keep his money with him, right? He thinks if I give away, I'll become poor. By not giving, you are bringing your poverty faster towards yourself. This is going to happen. So Imam Ali is surprised from the bakhil person who is not giving away because he thinks he will become poor if he gives. And by not giving, he is bringing the poverty towards him faster. Obviously, so there's a room for surprise from this silly behavior, because bukhl brings about poverty faster. وَيَفُوتُهُ الْغِنَى الَّذِي إِيَّاهُ طَلَبْ. And he loses the richness which he is seeking. He's not giving away the money because he thinks if he keeps his wealth, he will remain rich, and that's a protection for himself. He will be rich. So Imam Ali alayhi salam says that the richness is going to leave him. He is going to lose the richness which he's trying to acquire and keep. He's trying to keep his richness with him, and he's going to lose that richness because of the bukhl. فَيَعِيشُ فِي الدُّنْيَا عَيْشَ الْفُقَرَاءِ. He lives in the life of this world like the living of the poor people, because you're not going to spend, so this is going to bring about poverty and loss of your wealth. وَيُحَاسَبُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ حِسَابَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ. And he will be held accountable on the day of judgment like the accountability of the rich people. So he lived a life, despite of his wealth, he lived a life of poverty and will be held accountable as a rich guy on the day of judgment. So that's the third impact of bukhl. The fourth impact in the life of this world, يُؤَدِّي إِلَى قَطِيعَةِ الرَّحِمِ. It brings us closer towards breaking away from our relatives. It makes sense. A bakhil person is very likely to break away from his relative, because every family has poor people. You cannot find a family which all of its members are rich. Even those who are very rich people, not all members of their families are rich, right? So every family has rich and poor. If the rich people stay in touch with the poor people, they will have to give away some wealth. Obviously, when you interact, you feel bad for their situation. Islam teaches us to take care of our relatives, and sadaqah in Islam starts with the relatives, with the parents first. Sadaqah, the concept of sadaqah starts with the parents first, and then the aqraba, then your relatives. Before you start giving to anybody else in the outside world, Islam teaches us you give it to your own parents first if they need the money. Second of all, to your relatives. Then to the rest of the mu'mineen. Then the rest of the Muslims and the humanity. So it starts with your parents first, and then aqraba, your relatives. Prophet has said in the hadith, La sadaqata wa dhu rahimin muhtaj. So as long as you have a relative of yours standing in need, you give away the sadaqah to somebody else, that's not considered to be sadaqah in the eyes of Allah. As long as you have some relative of yours who is muhtaj and needy, and you give away the sadaqah to the rest of the people in the society, that sadaqah is not considered to be sadaqah in the eyes of Allah. So it's logical. If a bakhil person is not supposed to, when he is going to interact with the poor people of his own family members, and doesn't break away, breaking away from the family members is haram. So he will end up spending on the poor people. Islam wants to eradicate the poverty, right? Allah has sent down the rizq for every creature, every makhluk. Allah provided the rizq. There are humans who are blocking the rizq of other humans, not Allah. So some people who have more money than their necessities are blocking the rizq of others who have less than their necessities. This is why the poverty, it's not because Allah has not set the rizq. Some people are not poor on the face of earth because Allah did not send the rizq for them. No. Allah sent the rizq for everybody. It's because the rich people cannot be satisfied. Because there are some rich people who are never satisfied. This is the reason why there are so many who are poor. Not because Allah did not send their rizq, but there are some rich people who are never to be satisfied, and that's why they are blocking the rizq of those poor people, and thus those poor people remain poor. So bukhl is going to very likely to lead the person towards qat'ur rahim, breaking away from the relatives. If he has bukhl, he's not going to spend on the relatives. He will end up breaking away from the, very likely to end up. The fifth impact, scholars of akhlaq say, the fifth impact of bukhl is al-kasb al-haram. This is very interesting. So this is actually opening a new horizon for us, this information. So a bakhil person is, this aspect of bukhl reveals that the money he has earned is not from the halal. Because Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam has said, إن البخيل من كسب مالا من غير حله وأنفقه في غير حقه. Bakhil is the person who earns the money from where it was not permitted. It was not halal, non-halal source. And he ends up spending the money. You cannot keep the money with you. You spend it in the right place where Allah has said, your parents, your relatives, your mu'mineen, other mustahaq and deserving people, very, very good. If you don't listen to Allah and don't spend, no one should think we can keep the wealth with us. We will end up spending it, if not on the halal, on the haram place. Money is not going to stay forever. So we will end up spending it. The bakhil person will end up spending the wealth, just like there was a fundraising taking place inside a center. A person was not ready to give $200 for the masjid, and he walked out on the freeway. He ended up in a $2,000 ticket from the cop. He was not ready 5 minutes ago inside the masjid, not ready to pay $200 for the masjid. He drove on the freeway, he ended up paying $2,000 to the cop. So we don't understand sometimes how Allah is, khafiya makruka, Allah's makr and plan is hidden, how we end up getting beaten up by Allah. So, earning of the haram, bakhil person has the haram earning and spending in a place where he was not supposed to spend. That's how he's going to do it. Number 6, qillatul raha, lack of comfort. He will lose the comfort and peace of mind. A bakhil person is bound to lose the peace of mind and comfort. The comfort is an attribute of the soul, and stress is also an attribute of the soul, not the body. You can put a person in the best of the multi-million-dollar mansions, but if someone's son is kidnapped for ransom, and you can put him in a $10 million house and best of those beds, apparently there is no problem physically for him, but you think he can relax? Obviously not. It's not the best of the beds and the best of the houses and the best of the cars that provide you the relaxation and peace of mind, because comfort and stress are the attributes of the soul. Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, aqallun nas rahatan al-bakhil. The bakhil person is the least comfortable person among the humanity. In the entire world, the least person in the least comfort is bakhil. Another hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam says, kasratul ilal ayatul bukhl. If you have, somebody has a lot of sicknesses, illnesses, that's the sign of bukhl. Some people go out for picnic, camping, and they lose the money in the stream, in the water, in the river. They say, okay, fine, you do the niyat of sadaqah. Niyat of sadaqah cannot be done after the ibadat. Niyat is done before the ibadat, right? And if you have done the niyat of sadaqah and you have given the money to a mustahaq and deserving person, maybe you would not have lost the money in the river to begin with. So all various types of illnesses that we have, one of the reasons is that we don't give the sadaqah. Kasratul ilal, ayatul bukhl. Abundance of sicknesses is a sign of bukhl of the person. So your sicknesses will be decreased if you give sadaqah. It's confirmed. 70 bala. In the authentic hadith of the Prophet, 70 bala are removed through sadaqah. So, idfa'u amwaj al-bala'i. We repel the bala and we protect ourselves from various types of calamities by giving the sadaqah. Number 7, the seventh and the last impact, before I move to a couple of stories, the seventh and last impact of bukhl is al-imtina' an ikhraj al-huquq al-shar'iyya. A person will not be ready to give away his wajib duties, wajib financial obligations, khums, fitra, zakat for those people who are living in villages. They have zakat on them. Wajib duties, kafarat. Some people have kafarat wajib on them for breaching of the qasam al-shar'i, breaching of the ahad, not fasting till the next month of Ramadan, dhihar, li'an, so many different types of things which are obviously there. Dhihar, not the li'an. So dhihar has a kafara. So if a person is not ready to give away his bukhl is going to block the person from giving away his wajib duties towards Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, towards Islam. Khums specifically belongs to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So and that's a quite frequent problem. Sometimes you get invited in the houses of people who never pay khums. If you know it's a problem, if you know the person is not giving the khums and you are invited, obviously this food has the haqq of Ahlul Bayt on it, haqq of Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam in it. So our scholars say that you give the khums of the amount of food you are consuming before you start eating. Make an estimate of that food that you are consuming and you give away the khums of that before you consume it. But that's not going to relieve the person from giving the khums, because that person himself is supposed to give his khums with his own niyat. But at least the food that you are eating will be okay for you because you give away the khums of that much that you are consuming. So there's a story that I want to share, that a person has a wife who was generous. This person was bakhil. So after the marriage, what happened? Somebody knocked at the door. So this wife went, has generosity. She went at the door, she found a poor person, so she gave away her bread to the poor person. The husband got very upset on the wife. Why did you give away? Well, she said, the poor person was asking, I gave away my bread, so what's wrong with that? So he got very upset, and the narration says, finally they end up in a divorce. He divorced her. So she was divorced, they parted their ways. Later on, obviously, this woman married another husband, and after her second marriage, she was eating food with her husband, and the similar story was repeated, that somebody knocked at the door, a poor person came at the door. Now this time she is a generous person, generosity will always lead you towards generosity, right? She wanted to go and give her bread. She thought the previous story, it happened in her life, that she gave the bread and the husband got upset and he gave divorce. So she asked the husband that, can I give my bread to him, to the poor guy? And husband said, yeah, why not? You can give, definitely. So she went to the door and gave away her bread to the poor person. And when she went at the door to give away the bread, she gave the bread to the poor guy, and then she returns and she started to, she was in shock by looking at that poor person. And the husband asked her, why are you in shock? And she said, this poor person is the same previous husband of mine. The same previous husband of mine who divorced me because of my generosity, he's now begging on the streets. And so she said that's why she was in shock. She told it to her new husband. And the new husband actually said to her, let me tell you something which is even more surprising for you, that I am the first faqir person who came at your door. I am the person who came at your door when you were married at that time, so I am that faqir. So Allah made him marry with this lady. So please say salawat. There's a story narrated. كان العجوز يحتضر وذات يوم زاره قريبان وجلس قرب سريره يبحثان في الترتيبات اللازمة لجنازته، فقال أحدهما أظن أن علبة نقل سيارة واحدة تكفيانه. One person was on the deathbed, an old man, and two of his family members visited him in his final moments. And these two family members were talking to each other how they can arrange the things to carry. If this poor guy, old man dies, then how we have to carry the janazah. So we can just bring one cart, and one car is enough to carry this poor man instead of renting more than one cars. The other guy said that, well, if renting a car and one cart of carrying is expensive, we can even drop the idea of renting any cart or any car for him. We both can just try to carry his janazah on our shoulders to save some money. So إذا كانت تلك مسألة اقتصاد ففي إمكاننا أن نستغني عن العربة ونحمل النعش على الأكتاف. وازداد نقاشهما في هذا الأمر. They continued their conversation in front of that old man who was in the deathbed. When they started their conversation for long and all about how they can save more money, this old guy sit up from his bed and he said, can you bring me my clothes so that I can just wear my clothes and I can just walk towards my grave myself. No need for you people to carry me. So Ayatollah Jazairi, Ni'matullah Jazairi, Sayyid Ni'matullah Jazairi was one of the muhaddithin. So he was, it's narrated, he went to a person who was dying, and he said to him, and this person had 10,000 with Ayatollah Ni'matullah Jazairi. So Ayatollah Ni'matullah Jazairi said to him, to this dying person, if you allow me, I can spend your 10,000 that I have, and such good and khair and good thing, and obviously you get the thawab for that. And he said, no need to spend my money. So he stopped him from spending the money, and he just stopped him and died. So this is a lesson for all of us, brothers and sisters, that the best thing is that we spend the money on all the goodness and khairat in our own lifetime, instead of waiting for our children to spend after our death. Even if they do that, the thawab is going to be very less as compared to us spending the money. in our lifetime. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Let's read the Ayat al-Karima 5 times for all the mu'mineen and mustada'afeen and mahroomin and mazloomin in the Islamic Ummah, especially those mu'mineen and mu'minat who are sick, those who have requested for dua. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. 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 اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين واخذل الكفار والمنافقين. اللهم انصر من نصر الدين واخذل من خذل المسلمين. اللهم انصر واحفظ وأيد علماءنا الربانيين ومراجعنا الربانيين، لا سيما الولي الفقيه قائد المسلمين. اللهم انصر جيوش المسلمين وعساكر الموحدين. اللهم فك عن الأسراء المسلمين. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى، وعجل في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان، واجعلنا من أنصاره وأشياعه وأتباعه وأعوانه بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
And Surah Al-Fatiha for all the Shuhada of Islam. Sweet Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Assalamu alaikum.